Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're talking all about the SR Performance lowering springs, what I think about them. I've had them for almost 2 years now, so without further ado, let's get into today's video. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about these SR Performance lowering springs. Now, in terms of lowering springs, these are probably the most budget-friendly ones you're gonna find on the market. I got these about 2 years ago on AmericanMuscle.com. I think at that time they were running some crazy promotions, so I got these things for 50 bucks. Nowadays, I'm assuming they probably float around like 100, 150 bucks, which is not a bad value, especially because of the different characteristics it gives the car. First and foremost, these cars come from the factory with ridiculous suspension. It has like 3 inches, if not more, of wheel gap, and it comes from the factory with rake. Those that don't know what rake means, it means the front end is lower than the rear end, so it gives it that real kind of muscle car look. So with these springs, most people get them for the looks and also the performance. Now let's talk looks, guys. So this car's on perfectly even ground, hence why I'm like illegally parked right here. Well, let's go give the good old finger gap. Let's see what we got here. So up front, solid 2-finger gap, which is perfect for daily driving, which is what this car is, a daily driver. Rear, same thing, 2 fingers. Now, I'm totally cool with that. Can you go lower? Absolutely. I do have some iBox Sportline springs, which will drop at 1.7 inches in the front and then 2.3 in the rear. Now, the SR Performance, they claim that this drops 1.5 inches in the front and the back. I don't believe so. So I should have measured it when I had the stock suspension versus the new suspension, but if I had to guess that this is probably around a 1-inch drop. It was definitely not aggressive enough to be like a 1.5 inch like they claim. Up front here, guys, you can see plenty of clearance. I have smacked kind of a curb right here, just trying to pull into a parking spot, but definitely 6 inches of clearance up front. Now this car does have the GT front bumper and the CDC chin spoiler. Now if you're still on the factory V6 front bumper, you'd have like 8 inches of clearance. I mean, you could literally run over people. I mean, that's what us Mustang owners do. But let's go check the other side. Again, great stance, can't complain, especially as a daily driver. I mean, it just looks so much better than the factory rake. And again, guys, for the price point, you really can't fault these springs. In terms of build quality, I've had them for 2 years now, or just about, 0 issues. They've never done anything weird. Now, another thing also to mention, once you lower these cars, since it is a solid rear axle, you need a panhard bar. So for those that don't know what a panhard bar is, let me show you down here. I have an adjustable one. It is that guy right there. So what does that do? Pretty much that panhard bar, when you lower these cars, the whole rear axle will shift either to the left or to the right, meaning the wheels will either poke out, one side will poke out, one side will be really inside, and it's gonna drive real funky. So you need to get that installed, and that allows you just to then recenter the axle, so that way the wheels sit the way they should. Also adds a little bit of extra stability in the rear, which, hey, let's face it, is a good thing to have. So enough talking about it. Let's go for a drive and talk about how they perform. Alrighty, guys, let's go for a drive here. It is a bit of a scorcher today. Woo, and I'm in a sweatshirt. But let's talk about how this drives. Now, one of the things you're gonna notice right off the bat, this car is still on the factory or stock suspension, excluding the spring, so still the shocks, everything is OEM. Right off the bat, you're gonna tell, it feels a little bit lower getting into the car, not a much, but also it is a stiffer ride compared to stock. So it's not super harsh by any means, but you do definitely feel a little bit more bumps. Also, it sounds kind of weird, but with wider tires, you tend to feel more of what's under the car, which is honestly kind of a plus. So other things to note. When you're going up to speed and then you brake, if you have factory suspension, you guys have probably noticed this. You hit the brake and the car like nosedives. That's not the case with these springs anymore. Because these are a little bit stiffer compared to stock, we're gonna roll up the window so you guys can hear me, you don't have that issue whatsoever. So if I were to jab the brakes right now, the car would not nosedive. It just makes you feel much more in control. Now, in terms of handling, I don't road course this car, track this car, anything along those lines, but it handles pretty good. Now, most corners, I'm not a corner carver or anything like that, but it does handle nice, night and day compared to stock. Now, you You do not have to worry about any sort of rubbing with these as long as you have proper offsets. So my wheels are a 20 by 9.5, 20 by 11. It is a 255 tire up front and then a 305 in the rear. So definitely a little bit more on the aggressive side, but zero complaints, zero rubbing, nothing like that. There's no weird noises, squeaks. So right here, we're braking. You would be like nose down because of that factory rake, but it is super under control and it just feels so much more confidence inspiring. There's nothing worse than when you're taking a corner or hitting the brakes in the car, like crazy body roll. That is just no fun. Now, one other thing to mention about these springs is that you just can't beat them for the price. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have the funds, do I recommend going like coilovers or even, you know, maybe the iBox Sportlines? Yes. But if you're balling on a budget, guys, these are really good. Now, I looked at the reviews online, and of course you're gonna get a bunch of mixed reviews. Now, if you're buying this to go as like a track car, like an autocross, something along those lines, no, much better options out there. I'd point you towards coilovers, but for the daily drivers that just want to get rid of that 4x4 fitment, this is honestly perfect. You can't go wrong with them. Cheap, good build quality. Again, knock on hard plastic, no issues. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all for this video. We're gonna wrap it up there. If you guys have any questions about these, or if you want to see installs, there's tons of videos. I would do a video on that, but let's face it, it's been beaten to death. There's probably 50 videos of lowering springs on the S197, so you guys can go check those out. But if you enjoyed this video or you're considering buying these springs, hey, drop a like. It helps the channel out a ton, guys. All those likes, comments, and watching the videos to the end, it literally makes the biggest world of a difference for my channel. So thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed, smash that like button, and I will catch y'all in tomorrow's or Wednesday's upload. So peace out, guys.